Recently uploaded a shark video. You won't believe the insane biology of great white sharks. I'm gonna keep on uploading these vids. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I just really like doing these vids. I'm gonna react to this. I actually want to react to a orca one. What's the popular one? Alright, this one. The insane biology of the orca.
This video is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Sign up today at curiositystream.com/realscience to get both CuriosityStream and 99 for the entire year.
Information of science shared with a community which is acquired to specifics through some form. I ain't gonna lie, bro. What you like? I went to SeaWorld, and SeaWorld still has like left, like they're no longer capturing orcas, and they're just keeping the rest of the orcas that they have in captivity. But bro, like hearing them in real, like IRL, shit's insane. I ain't gonna lie. Alright, bet, let's get it. Like, bro,
in every ocean in the world, from coastal shorelines to the tropics to the poles, to the endless deep expanses, live the most widespread creature in the world after humans.
This is my favorite animal.
Through the centuries, it's been given many names: blackfish, grampus, whale killer. And while the seas are full of creatures vying for their place on the food chain, the orca is unequivocally on top. Their Latin name, Orcinus orca, is derived from the name Orcus, god of the underworld and champion of death, an apt reference to their fierce hunting reputation. They are the ultimate apex predator of the ocean, hunting everything from fish to seals and sea lions to humpback whales and even great white sharks. And it's not just what they hunt, but how they do it that sets them apart from every other animal. In the case of great white sharks, orcas will chase them down in packs and ram into their sides. The blow stuns the shark, allowing the orca to flip the great white over and hold it upside down, which paralyzes and drowns it. And the orcas don't simply eat the shark either. They carefully extract and consume just the livers, with an almost surgical precision.
What?
Great whites are so terrified.
They don't even eat it? They just like consume specifics? Nah, that's actually insane.
Of orcas that if a shark escapes an encounter with an orca, the shark will immediately flee their hunting ground and stay away for up to a year. Packs of Antarctic orcas use the cunning tactic of working together to make waves to wash seals off floating ice. Other groups swim in circles around schools of fish, blowing bubbles while slapping their tails on the water to corral the fish to the surface, where they can be annihilated in mass. They have been seen to coordinate hunts between as many as 50 individuals, and are constantly innovating new, often terrifying hunting methods. Hunting strategies like this have entranced scientists for years because of their apparent military precision. How are orcas able to communicate and coordinate such complicated concepts? How do they come up with so many new ideas and implement them so effectively? While many of these answers are still being uncovered, research is starting to get inside the minds of orcas, revealing just how powerful the orca collective can be.
I'm not gonna lie too, a lot of people don't know, but there's specific type of orcas. Like there's orcas that would eat fish, and then there's orcas that would eat mammals. Like there's orcas right now in Oregon that are actually going extinct, and their only like food source is some type of salmon, I think, if I'm correct. And they try, like scientists have tried to get them to eat other things, but they like directly refuse. They don't want to like eat anything but their specific foods, you know. Orcas are like really, I don't know, it's just, yeah. A lot of people don't know that, like, not all orcas will eat mammals.
Though often called killer whales, orcas are more specifically in the dolphin family, of which it is the largest member. Today, they are the apex predator of the sea. But their evolutionary story didn't always take place there. 50 million years ago, this land-dwelling, wolf-sized creature called the Pachycetus lived along the edges of a shallow ocean, where it ate fish and other small sea creatures. Over the next 8 million years, some of its lineage slowly ventured more and more to sea, exploiting more ocean resources and trading its legs for flippers. Remnants of today's whales' land-dwelling origins can be found in their front flippers, where there are arm, wrist, and finger bones, and in their vestigial pelvic bone, a bone which serves no purpose today, but is simply a leftover from when they had hind legs. Today, orcas are one of the most recognizable animals in the ocean, with their distinct black and white coloring and immense size. Males can reach over 9 meters long and weigh up to 10 metric tons, about the size and weight of a school bus. And they can propel their huge bodies through the water at a ridiculously fast clip. An orca's body is cylindrical and tapers at each end to form a hydrodynamic shape. This shape, along with the orca's size and strength, makes it the second fastest marine mammal, reaching speeds of up to 35 kilometers an hour. At times, they've been seen leaping 15 feet into the air.
So I gotta look it up. What's the first fastest swimming marine animal? The black marlin? Damn. That makes sense, bro. You ever seen people fish those fish, like fish the marlins or like those sailfish? It's insane.
And you would not want to be their target.
Right? Because marlin and sailfish is two different things, right? Marlin versus sailfish. But they're in the same family. Are marlin and sailfish in the same family? And sailfish belong to the billfish. Oh, that's called the billfish family. Yeah, bro, they're fast as shit.
Their bite force exceeds 131 megapascals. For reference, a great white's bite force is estimated to be only 27.5 megapascals.
Wait, hold on, I don't mean to replay this shit, but let's do it.
And you would not want to be their target. Their bite force exceeds 131 megapascals. For reference, a great white's bite force is estimated to be only 27.5 megapascals. Acting alone, their size, speed, and terrifying jaws would probably be enough to put them at the top of the food chain in the ocean. But they don't operate alone. Orcas almost always work together in deadly pods. The pod is a family unit based on the maternal group. A typical matriline consists of an older female or matriarch and her male and female descendants. These groups work together in sometimes perfect synchrony, with a precision that is hard for scientists to wrap their heads around. Likely, the basis for this teamwork is a refined and complex form of communication. We don't know yet exactly what they're saying, but researchers believe that their huge repertoire of sounds, calls, and whistles communicate complex messages to one another. In the 1970s, scientists started to record and analyze the numerous sounds orcas make beneath the waves, in an attempt to gain insight into their mysterious underwater language. First, they heard many clicks, called click trains. These are the sounds the whales use for echolocation, as they look for food sources and map their underwater environment with sound. To create a click train, the orca takes a breath, and pressure from streams of air bubbles move up the airway from the lungs. This causes two flaps called the phonic lips to slap together. The clicking vibrations are then transferred to their bulbous forehead, aptly called their melon. The melon is an organ made up of specialized fats that help sound propagate. The clicks are organized into a beam as it travels through the melon. The sound is then emitted outwards as a series of high-frequency clicks, and spread through the water like a flashlight beam. Each click lasts less than 1 millisecond, with frequencies ranging from 20 to 60 kilohertz, and with levels recorded over 220 decibels. Decibels underwater are measured slightly differently than in air, making this seem extreme, but it is still insanely loud. If the sound waves hit an object, some sound waves bounce back to the whale in the form of an echo. Specialized fatty tissues in the jaw area pick up the sound.
You know, if a whale passes by you, the biggest danger you could have as a scuba diver, obviously if it hits you, but it's like the sound. Like the sound is so freaking loud that it could like really burst your eardrums. Like bad, you know. I've seen a video where someone got surprised and they're like out of nowhere, a whale just comes by them and it basically calls out, and it was loud. Like you could hear it in the video. The video was loud. I could just imagine in person how loud it was, and I forgot what type of whale it was, but it was a loud call, bro. And you could tell it hurt the scuba divers' ears because they were like this, like, you know.
And auditory nerves conduct it to the middle ear and brain, where it creates a picture of the environment for the orca. Echolocation allows killer whales to detect fish at distances of up to 500 feet, much further away than they could see in the dark, murky water. They can even differentiate acoustic signatures of different swim bladders of different species of fish to ensure they get their favorite kind.
I think those are the salmons that were actually in Oregon, and some of them are endangered, but I'm not sure which one, but I'm pretty sure some of these guys are endangered, or one of these guys, or I don't know if they both are, but something about Washington or Oregon, around that specific area, and the orcas, like they're losing their resources, and you know, because of like a whole bunch of stuff. I something about the dam or some stuff like that, or that's preventing like these salmon to flow through freely. Yeah.
Killer
like
whales in the
wrong.
North Pacific, for example, prefer to eat almost exclusively Chinook salmon, whose range exceeds 15. Sure, they get their favorite kind. Killer whales in the North Pacific, for example, prefer to eat almost exclusively Chinook salmon, whose range exceeds 15,000 square miles. This huge area is occupied by hundreds of other species of fish, including 5 other species of salmon, whose populations are often far more abundant than the Chinook salmon. But yet, the orcas can pinpoint and hunt down just the fish they want. Their echolocation is astoundingly precise. Next, researchers focused in on a different sound the orcas were making: whistles. Whistles are high-pitched, show a high degree of directionality, and are highly modulated, and as a result, they don't carry far underwater. Whistles are narrow-band tones with no or few harmonic components, at frequencies typically between 1.5 and 18 kilohertz, and durations up to 12 seconds. They can even extend into the ultrasonic range, with frequencies ranging up to 75 kilohertz in some populations. And because they don't travel far in water, scientists realized that these are the sounds the whales make when they want to have close-range, private communication with their podmates, which likely helps them coordinate certain attacks in relative secrecy. And then there are the orca calls, as loud as jet engines, that echo over many miles in the ocean. These pulsed calls are the most common vocalization of killer whales. They show sudden and pattern shifts in frequency, based on the pulse repetition rate, which is usually between 0.25 and 2 kilohertz. And what's surprising is that these vocalizations are not genetically predetermined. They are learned. When a calf is born, its first vocalizations are loud, high-pitched screams that bear no resemblance to the adult's calls. But eventually, calves learn which calls to make and under what circumstances. Scientists, however, have not yet learned the exact meaning of the orca language, but know that it's important for coordinating hunts.
I find it funny that people really don't think animals could communicate. I'm like, bro, we're animals, we're humans, we communicate. Some of the smartest animals definitely communicate, you know. And I don't think people realize how extraordinary our brains are to the point where like we like look like just think about it how evolved humans are. It's insane, you know. It's like the orca is just on hunter mode, and it has a language of itself, but it's not gonna go outright like, hey, you know, I could talk. You know, it's like it's not like that, like, bro. It's like there's an extent to it, but orcas are fascinating animals. They're really intelligent animals.
When orcas are working together during a herring hunt, for example, the sound underwater is off the charts. There are clicks, whistles, calls, sometimes with harmonic tones and tons of undulation. Because of its learned nature and complexity, scientists believe that there is potential for communication of complex specific information in calls, a true language being spoken. Researchers are processing hundreds of hours of audio data from tagged animals in an attempt to correlate the sounds to certain behaviors, to understand how exactly they communicate their hunts. Using artificial intelligence, scientists hope to one day be able to literally translate whale language into ours, perhaps even allowing us to converse with another species. Recently, an AI was developed that can translate one human language to another without help from a Rosetta Stone or key. Taking this one step further to decipher whale language may not be that far-fetched. Researchers are already working on training their AI to identify call types, find possible subunits, and detect recurring communication patterns.
Nah, this is the type
correlated
of stuff,
with observed behavioral patterns may...
This is the type of stuff humans should focus on. The world we live in, the planet we breathe in, the beautifulness, the wilderness that's around us. Not none of this like human on human war and conflict and stuff. Bro, we're evolved. We should be working on stuff like this. Like we should be beyond this shit. We should be beyond all this like stupidity stuff. We should focus on making the world a better place. And this is amazing, bro. The fact that the scientists are actually trying to figure out a way to communicate with whales is not far-fetched, and I really believe people could do it if they just focus on it.
May one day decode the orca's language. But beyond giving hunting signals, orca language serves another purpose.
I'm sure someone's
language is the basis for every orcapod's group identity. An identity...
Or I'm sure someone's took the step forward and has tried it. You know, I'm just curious about it.
So solid that orcapods, in a sense, have cultures as rich and varied as our own. And it is this culture, this group identity, that sets them apart as the most effective predators in the ocean. Though many pods of orca often live in close proximity to each other, they can lead wildly different lives. A type of pod called resident pods live in relatively predictable locations, largely around coastlines, such as the well-studied northern and southern residents off the coast of British Columbia. These are the most common types of orca, and many pods of resident orcas can live near each other, not exactly living and working together, but on occasion interacting. These pods typically have an average of 14 members, but up to as many as 50, and they typically hunt fish. But then there's another type of orca, called transient orcas, that are far more rare. These elusive and mysterious whales occur sporadically in unpredictable locations, often staying submerged for much longer than residents, hugging the shore but staying out of sight. These renegade orcas travel huge distances over their lives, with some pods of transients known to travel between Alaska and California. Transient pods are much smaller, averaging around 3 members, and they typically hunt marine mammals like sea lions. Transient orcas do not interact with resident orcas. It was clear to researchers from the beginning that orcas opt to live in these groups. But just how distinct these pods were from one another wasn't revealed until the 1980s, when researchers, for the first time, began to listen more closely.
That is actually pretty insane.
Not interact with resident orcas. It was clear to researchers from the beginning that orcas opt to live in these groups. But just how distinct these pods were from one another wasn't revealed until the 1980s, when researchers, for the first time, began to listen more closely to the different orca conversations happening under the waves. And what they found was that each pod has its own collection of calls, referred to as their very own dialect. One group of resident orcas, for example, relied on calls that began with a low pulse rate burst, followed by a simultaneous narrowband tone, which begins at a frequency of 3 to 5 kilohertz and then increases to over 8 kilohertz. Another group of resident orcas uses a different type of call altogether, a low-frequency, gradually rising tone, followed by a lower-pitch pulse, which is then followed by a sudden shift to a high-frequency tone and ending with another low-pitched burst. Resident orcas can have dozens of identifiable calls like this, each completely unique to their specific pod. And the difference in calls between resident and transient orcas, even in the same area, gets even bigger. Transient whales overall are very quiet compared to the residents. When they are foraging, they're usually completely silent, not even using echolocation, which is heard in abundance in resident pods. But all transient orcas studied in the Pacific Northwest shared one type of distinct call, usually used while foraging, and even then they did so rarely. A long, quiet, low-frequency call. The different orca dialects often go unchanged within a pod for decades, indicating that they're likely an essential way to maintain group identity. And this group identity is the key to their unrivaled success. A cultural species behaves differently than a species where everything is determined genetically. With each orca dialect comes a suite of wildly varied behaviors from group to group, each with particular traditions that allow them to carve out a specialized niche, hunting a particular target with a sophisticated, sometimes terrifying strategy. The killer whales off the coast of Argentina have perhaps the most startling tradition of all. It was first observed in 1985, and scientists could almost not believe what they were seeing. When the tide is high and the sea is calm, the orcas snag sea lions directly from the shore by intentionally beaching themselves. Like a terrifying tsunami, the orca surfs on an advancing wave until it's close enough to grab the unsuspecting sea lion from the tumultuous surf zone. Sea lions are notoriously clumsy on land, and during the transition from swimming to walking in shallow and turbulent water. So by the time they notice death itself approaching, it's usually too late to get away. Once grounded, the whale arches its body with its head and tail lifted and rocks sideways. This motion orients it parallel to the beach, and a subsequent wave helps to lift it off the bottom. The whale can then swim back into deeper water, carrying the prey in its mouth, where it will eat it or share it with its pod. This intentional beaching technique is a tricky maneuver. It's not easy for the orcas to synchronize their movements with the waves coming in and then back out. And if they miscalculate, they risk getting actually stuck, which can prove to be deadly. There are 30 orcas that live along this stretch of coastline, but only 13 orcas have mastered the stranding technique. To get to this level of mastery, they have gone through years of rigorous teaching and training. Young orcas can be seen with older adults practicing again and again, beaching themselves repeatedly, but not yet trying to catch any prey. Sometimes the older orca introduces a prop, like seaweed, to enrich the training. It's always females who teach the young orcas, and they do so with remarkable care and patience. Some young whales never make it through the training. The feeling of going aground and the feeling of their entire body weight out of the water freaks them out.
So it's a specific type of training. Like, some people just prefer not to do it. I mean, orcas. Tai Chi.
Enough to never try again. Only a few ever get the hang of it. The young orca's first attempt to catch live seals might not happen for years. And when it does, they still need the assistance of an adult to return to the water with their prey. This shows that learning hunting techniques needs a high degree of skill and requires high parental investment to reduce the associated risk. And though difficult, time-consuming, and dangerous, social transfer of skills like this through apprenticeship is one of the key reasons orcas are so highly adaptable, and thus such formidable predators throughout the entire world. The culture in groups of orcas is so profound that scientists even believe that orcas are the only non-human organism whose evolution is driven by it. Just as some humans have evolved to tolerate lactose, for example, as cow milk became increasingly introduced to our diets, orcas too are evolving due to their choices and traditions. Transient orcas are even so distinct from resident orcas that scientists believe it's a matter of time until they become their own species. Not because geography separated them, but because culture did. But there's one more key ingredient, without which none of the orca's complex culture would be possible: the orca's giant brain and incredible intelligence. Orcas have the second biggest brain in the animal kingdom after sperm whales. It weighs in at a whopping 5.4 to 6.8 kilograms. But exactly how brain size translates to intelligence is not straightforward. Scientists have found that while absolute size is important, its size relative to the body is more so. The larger the brain is relative to the body, the more brain weight might be available for more complex cognitive tasks. One measure, called the encephalization quotient, or EQ, tries to measure this ratio and is used to convey how small or large a species' brain is compared to other species with a similar body size. And orcas are near the top of the list. Humans have the largest, with an EQ of about 7. Bottlenose dolphins are next, with an EQ of around 4. And next are the orcas at about 2.5. Bottlenose with a similar body size. And measure this ratio and is used to convey how small or large a species' brain is compared to other species with a similar body size. And orcas are near the top of the list. Humans have the largest, 2 point, extremely highly to other but beyond this impressive, and next are the orcas at about 2.5. But beyond this impressive brain-to-body ratio, compared to other mammalian brains, the orca brain is in many respects highly unusual, because it has extremely pronounced wrinkling and folding in the cerebral cortex. This wrinkling is called gyrification. Gyrification increases the amount of total cortical nerve tissue that processes information, making brains with more wrinkles and folds able to handle more data and process it faster. Cetaceans, the toothed whales and dolphins, have significantly higher gyrification compared to land mammals. The gyroencephaly index for humans is 2.2. For bottlenose dolphins, it's 5.6, and for orcas, it's 5.7, the most gyrified brain in the world. Yet perhaps the most fascinating structure in an orca's brain is its extremely developed insular cortex. The insula is involved in consciousness and the regulation of emotions, like compassion, empathy, interpersonal experience, and self-awareness.
So if I understand this, the more wrinkly the brain, the more information you get. Let me replay that real quick.
This information, making brains with education increases the amount of total cortical nerve tissue that processes information, making brains with more wrinkles and folds able to handle more data and process it faster. Point 2. For bottleneck, the most gyrified brain in the world. Yet perhaps the most fascinating structure in an orca's brain is its extremely developed insular cortex. The insula is involved in consciousness and the regulation of emotions, like compassion, empathy, interpersonal experience, and self-awareness. This means the orca may be emotionally intelligent in the same way we are, aware of the feelings.
I mean, I agree with that for sure. I mean,
and the regulation of emotions. Its extremely developed insular cortex. The insula is involved in consciousness and the regulation of emotions.
I agree with this. I mean, like I said, with the Island Water Park, I went there, I took photos of it. I could show you guys like the stuff I took photos of, but like orcas have only been known to kill humans in captivity, and it's like orcas are creatures that are imprisoned, and like Island Water Park and stuff like that. And that's why they stopped like capturing these orcas. They would literally capture these orcas from the ocean, and they would put them in captivity. Look at these scratches, bro. And a lot of them is from like trying hitting cages and being in captivity throughout the years. Dorsal fin like that. I'm pretty sure I'm not 100% sure if this is due to captivity. It could be. Or it could not, because I also seen in the wild that this happens too, but I don't know 100%. I forget. I think I wrote about it here, but I wrote about it a long time ago. I mean, look, bro, like these animals are not meant to be in captivity, bro. I'm just gonna be honest. And it's like emotions show. I mean, there's that documentary called, I think, Blackfish or Blackfin, and it's just like shows like the history of how they've been treated, and and even like trying to off themselves and like killing humans and stuff. I mean, bro, they don't want to be in captivity. They want to be with their families. They want to be with their pods. They want to live a life where they have the freedom to do it.
Like compassion, empathy, interpersonal experience, and self-awareness. This means the orca may be emotionally intelligent in the same way we are, aware of the feelings of others, and aware of its own existence. And this may be the ultimate measure of consciousness in the animal kingdom. In 2001, researchers put orcas to the test.
They said this may be what?
Of consciousness in the ultimate measure of consciousness in the animal kingdom. In 2001, researchers aware of the feelings of others and aware of its own existence. And this may be the ultimate measure of consciousness in the animal kingdom. In 2001, researchers put orcas to the test, a test to gauge if orcas do indeed have a sense of self, by determining whether they can recognize their own reflection in a mirror as an image of itself. This was done surreptitiously by marking the black part of its rostrum with white ointment and the white part with a dark green ointment, and observing whether the animal reacts in a manner consistent with it being aware that the dye is located on its own body. Such behavior might include turning and adjusting the body in order to better view the marking in the mirror. And the orcas in the study not only noticed the markings, but seemed to be completely fixated on them. They had spent time in front of mirrors before, but with the markings seemed to not be able to look away. They blew bubbles at their reflection, bobbed their head, and stuck their tongue out. And all these behaviors were unusually frequent and lasted longer than...
They done these type of studies too with other species, but this is like very different because orca, like usually with like species like gorillas and stuff, like they get mad and shit. They get mad, start punching the mirror or like something like that.
Than at any time before the markings were placed. While this is not necessarily a sign of consciousness as we know it, it is not unreasonable to think that the orca mind works a lot like ours, and that they are capable of high-level thinking and feeling, and can perceive the vast complexity of the world they live in. A highly intelligent, dominant social species, where the young are taught difficult lessons over many years, and where family takes care of each other, it's hard to not see a reflection of ourselves in them. Even though we diverged from the orcas many millions of years ago, they may be our closest counterpart in the way we both experience this world.
What does she mean diverged? Did humans diverge from orcas? No, humans did not diverge from orcas. They are entirely different species. I think she meant like in a way of like humans and orcas spent the same land. Like, I mean, they're different, but they are here in the same planet. Yeah, okay.
The more we observe the orca world, the more the incredible complexity both experienced this many millions of years ago, it's hard to not see a reflection of ourselves in them. Even though we diverged from the orcas many millions of years ago, they may be our closest counterpart in the way we both experience this world. The more we observe the orca world, the more the incredible complexity of their lives becomes clear to us. And at every turn, researchers seem to be discovering an orca behavior even more mind-blowing than the last. Recently, another orca behavior started to be revealed, and was also caught on film. Orcas are notorious for working together with other orcas. But now they've been caught on camera not just working with their own pods, but with a completely different species, the humpback whale. What is sometimes their prey, humpback whales are now acting as their partner in some areas, as they help each other in hunting shoals of herring. It's a behavior that has to be seen to be believed. And to see it in action, you should watch the Orcas vs. Humpback episode of Sea Hunters on CuriosityStream. This is a brand new 6-part series that covers unexpected survival techniques of the ocean's predators, with some of the most groundbreaking footage of these behaviors that's ever been captured. Other episodes include the unexpected conflict between sea lions and hyenas, and the cooperation between dolphins and gannets, and detailed coverage of the orca stranding method as they snatch sea lions from the shore. This is one of many incredible series on CuriosityStream. Alone, CuriosityStream is a fantastic educational stream. More and more new previous video of
W freaking vid, bro. I'm not gonna lie. There's a saying. I don't know how exactly it goes, but it's a saying saying the real aliens are in the water. Or in the ocean, you know? And I truly believe that. I mean, obviously I do think there's aliens out there. Probably not from this universe, but 100% from like different. I mean, there's billions of galaxies, right? If I'm saying that right, there's billions of galaxies or trillions. It's like, let me see, how many galaxies? Is there trillions of galaxies? Meaning there are trillions of planets right here. Meaning there can be a form of I mean there can be a planet with species that we will never see. Yes, that's exactly right. Given that number of universes, entire possible indeed like the planets with species in the extent that we will never encounter, detect, and foreseeable technology. So yeah, exactly. Like there's trillions of galaxies with trillions of planets. That there could be like different life, you know, out there, and it's insane. But yeah, no, 100%. I feel like we focus on space a lot, but the true like ocean, bro, like ocean, you know, it's insane. There's a lot of things we don't know. Even the deep ocean, I think the ocean's like 5% explored. Let me see. Let me ask ChatGPT. I like using ChatGPT. How much of the ocean is explored? 25 of the world's ocean have been explored. Map detail. This means a vast majority, 80% remain unexplored. Wow, that's insane, bro. You can also ask like where it gets this information from, and then they'll give you the articles and stuff. Because not everything on ChatGPT is right, but yeah, bro, like it's insane. But anyways, guys, if you guys are watching this from YouTube, make sure you guys like, sub, comment. I'm out.